Morning, everybody. I'm just going to try and do all of these all at once. So this is going to be, I'll add title later to the Facebook one. So I'm doing a triple recording for anybody who's currently watching on YouTube. So I'm going to just get organized here so everybody can see everything. And we're going to start talking about, good morning, Facebook people. So I know I've got Facebook. I'm actually recording this on my phone. I can do this in a fairly short amount of time. So I tried to do the lighting, and then my neighbor was banging on the wall with a jackhammer. So hopefully we won't have too many interruptions this morning. I'm just going to pop over on YouTube and make sure that's streaming live. Good morning, everybody. So I've got people watching on both, and I'm recording. So I'm not follow along with any chats on any of these things. I'm just going to get right to the information. So I'm going to talk about a couple of different things. Firstly, we're discussing today the movie. Just pulled it up for you so you can see it. Hopefully everybody can see that. We're discussing this movie on YouTube. And the reason I'm not going to talk about some of these words is because I get actually stopped in the middle of the video. So I'm going to have to pop back and forth between both stations and make channels and make sure I'm still on, because both of them take me down. So that's what happens when you tell the truth. So anyhow, we're going to do some code words too. Fun little games today. So I wrote these down for so we wouldn't have to say. So when I say dark side, I'm shaking because I had too much coffee this morning and I'm still drinking it and I don't care. So when I say dark side, this is what I mean. Okay. When I say light side, this is what I mean. And this is not religious or political. I'm just going to put this out there for you. I'm just trying to discuss what happened with our cashola, okay, or the planet's money in that regard. So James goes on for about 3 hours. I implore you all to please watch his video. I'm literally tried to digest it in the smallest, compact, easy way for you all to, I hope all of you can hear me. I should pop over on Facebook or YouTube and make sure. Can everybody hear me okay? Just making sure that my microphone's working and everything. So perfect. So I'm going to just adjust this camera. So there you go. You guys can see I've got 3 cameras going on. So anyways, we're going to get right to this chart here. So what we're talking about is a continuation of the first part of the video I did about Saint Germain. And I'm going to say his name a couple of times at the very beginning because who cares? Anyways, what he did in 1729 was he created this world trust with a bunch of people, okay? So, well, himself, but good people. So then underneath this, so if you want to know where any of money is, so we have what's called this right here. You can read that, I'm sure. And if you can't, well, I'm going to have 30 or 40 pictures of these available on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Okay, afterwards. So we're going to get right to these. So what this is this is all the whole money in the whole wide world. That's foundation divide. So this guy created this in 1729. And we're going to go through all of these charts. Oh, I should have turned these around. Well, I didn't. So we're just going to plop them over, whip them around in a second. So I didn't even make sure they were in order. That's even funnier. So what this is basically is kind of like the debt side, I guess, is the best way and the way they control it. So on this side, they have 180 royal trusts that are controlled by these people here, but this one in particular. Okay, so that's right underneath this trust here. This trust here is controlled by those people here, the dark side. Okay. And I'm not sure how many of those are there. I thought it was 3, but I didn't put that on there for 100%. So underneath them is these corporate trusts, okay? And underneath those is what's called prosperity programs and bankroll programs. So I'm just going to try and break it down super, super easy for you. So what these are right here, these are big accounts, basically. And here's some of the names of them. I hope you can all see them. Freedom, Omega, Savage, Hong Kong, whatever. They're all maintained and audited by Price Waterhouse, IMF, the Treasury Republic of the United States, and they're deposited into IMF-controlled offshore banks. Okay? There's in order to get into one of these, you have to have 100 million minimum of an investment. So this is a high rollers club, okay? So we're going to talk about these as we go along. But to explain all of these, I'm just going to put these right here. We're going to explain this too. Around the turn of the century, some wealthy kids put some money, that they were good kids, put some money into an account to use benefit all of the world. So in the early 1990s, it was opened up to investors handled by trustees. So debts can only out of those accounts can be paid by gold, silver, back currency, etc. Otherwise, these people, the dark side, would steal. So these are still waiting to be paid out from these programs. So just keep in mind that those programs need to be paid in gold and silver. Okay. Moving on. I'm going to go back to this at the very end, but we have a lot of charts to get through. This is grab your pens and paper, coffee. I don't know what you got going on, but I did not prepare you for what you're about to learn. And I'm trying not to cuss today. You're welcome. So, oops, I got to raise this up a little bit so I can get at all of these. Oh, I had to go to the store and buy more yesterday because I ran out. So I'm telling you, you guys are going to get a lesson today. So hopefully we won't get too much glare on that. And just tell me if you've got a glare. So basically, we're going to go right through a little history lesson. Okay. So prior to the Revolutionary War, the United States was doing awesome, okay? They had just enough of their own cash to print for stuff to be moved from producer to consumer. This dude here was not happy, okay? So KG3, he was really jealous because in England, they had the complete opposite. They had high taxes, high debt, high jail. Basically, there's beggars. Taxes had to be paid in gold. Nobody had gold. He didn't have gold. So he basically started this in the United States. That's the actual true cause of this war, the Revolutionary War, from 1775 to 1785. So basically what he did was he went with this guy here, Mayor, and they loaned money to the Continental Army through some agents and in France to control them. So they sent spies that were loyal to the crown to infiltrate the new republic, okay, into the hands of the bankers. So where did that leave everybody? Well, after 1788, the British loans were now due, so declared bankruptcy, okay? 1790, Congress passed an act that abolished the states of the republic into a corporation, and they were not any longer subject to the Bill of Rights. So there's going to be a lot of paperwork that gets shuffled around in this story, and you're going to be mad. But don't be mad because things are awesome, okay? Things are awesome. I know when I started doing this rabbit hole, I was like, OMG. Don't be upset. It's just a story that's already been played out, and we already know how the ending is. So what happened? In 1791, President Washington declared a financial emergency. So he created a private central bank controlled by the Bank of England and the R family. by pledging assets and security of the U.S. as collateral. He basically said, okay, you can have the United States, and we need to get our country together. So what happened was Alexander Hamilton was a Secretary of Treasury. He drafted a 20-year charter, the Bank of the United States. They only put 10 million capital, and 20 million they loaned out. So basically every 10 million, they loaned out 20, doubled the money. So I'm going to talk about something right here before we go any further, because you need to understand this word. It's super important. Arbitrage basically means you get to profit from a short period of time with a little bit of money, fractional reserve money. So in accounts for each of us, literally around the entire universe, there's a $1 million deposit. Okay, this is what we're going to get to. They created 9 million minimum of loans out of thin air. Just grabbed it out of thin air, just said, oh, that person might be worth $1 million later in their life, so we're going to loan out $9 million. So what that did is gave them power of leverage. That's called fractional reserve money. So the easiest way to explain it is thin air money. Fractional reserve is just thin air money. So that's what all of this is, by the way, is thin air money. So with the power of leverage, the bank could bring in 63%. What I mean by that is for every 90 million, they made 6.3 million on the original 10. So if they loaned out, if the person had 10 million in this account of real money, they loaned out 90 million of fake money, and they made 6.3 million in profit. That's mafia. Literally, if somebody were to tell me, give me $10, I'm going to make you another $6.30. So you'll have $16.30 in a week. I'm like, I'm down, right? Who wouldn't? That's how the dark side got so far, so fast. We'll go through that. So you need to understand that part of it. So this is how they did it. And out of this bank, actually, 80% were foreign investors. So in 1796, they had a big debt, and they were forced to sell most of its shares. So now in 1802, the government had no money. So guess what happened? What happens when you have no money? Well, let's go divide people. Okay, so then the Napoleonic Wars were created from 1803 to 1815. And basically what happened there, Britain imposed blockades on neutral countries, took Americans hostage. Congress passed an amendment due to the infiltration of spies. And this is a very important amendment. It was the 1810 Titles of Nobility Clause was passed. It's the 13th Amendment. So let me see if I wrote it down here. I hope I did. Yeah, I did. So 13th Amendment. I'm going to read this out. Titles of nobility. If any citizen of the United States so accept, claim, receive, or retain any title, nobility, or honor, or shall, without consent of Congress, accept and retain any present pension, office, or emolument of any kind whatsoever from any emperor, king, prince, or foreign power, such person shall cease to be a citizen of the United States, shall be incapable of holding any office for any trust or profit. This prevented basically anybody who had any connections to the crown from doing anything. Okay, that's why they put this in, because they didn't want to be infiltrated anymore. Okay, because they were foreign agents of the crown. So that basically make a whole bunch of people like lawyers and doctors and clergymen foreign agents. Okay, on March 12th of 1819, this was ratified. So Congress refused to renew the first United States Bank Charter that expired on February 20th, 1811. These people, the dark side, got very angry. So they took $7 million. Get out of here. They demanded to be paid in gold. And they put the United States into a recession. Okay? Guess what happened? War. England lost control over the money, the titles, nobility. They got pissed. They went into Washington and they burned down the White House and the Library of Congress. The original titles of nobility were destroyed. They returned the public back to the people, but took out the 13th Amendment. They're like, oh, we're going to rule your land whether you want us to or not. So the proof was found by an archive researcher in 1983 that this actually existed, the original existed. 1816, James Madison, second charter of the National Bank. Andrew Jackson called the dark side vipers and thieves. He paid off debt for the first time in history and had $5,000. So when the books opened, every single stockholder in that bank was a British citizen in the country, actually. So they just proved that that was removed. Andrew Jackson obviously had an attempt on his life, and he obviously thought the dark side was to blame. In 1857, the dark side got bored, so they started creating what's known as the Civil War. So this is what you need to know. On the north side, the British colony was annexed to Canada, controlled by Lionel. The south, valuable cotton and Napoleon III of France, was controlled by James. Same last name. Got it? I didn't know that until then. I was like, wow. Wow. Anyways, in 1854, some yucky man named this guy, Albert Pike, he was actually the head of the Illuminati order. He actually made the Knights of the Golden Circle. These people were in it: George Bickley, Jefferson Davis, John Wilkes Booth, and Jesse James, who actually collected a lot of money to fund the war. This group actually became the KKK in 1867. That's where that started, way back in 1867, from the head of the dark side, okay? So in 1861, Lincoln approached the dark side to raise money, and they said, yeah, like, let's just give us 24 to 36%, loan sharking, basically. So Lincoln got mad and tried to print debt-free greenbacks. So in 1972, a computer figured out that he saves $4 billion in interest. $4 billion in interest just by printing 449 million in greenbacks. So on the 27th of March, 1861, Southern states walked out of Congress. Like, they just had it's called the day without. And then the Constitution ceased to exist. So they got mad. So Lincoln signed now an executive proclamation. One said that there's a national emergency. The territories were under martial law, ruled by executive powers. The federal government within D.C. There's no jurisdiction in state territories. So basically what was formed after this is 1863, the General Order 100, the Lieber Code, extends the law to several states. So it's very confusing how they occupied. So what happened is I'll just read it. After Civil War, the Fed government occupied southern states under this code had to agree to ratify the 14th Amendment in order to be granted freedom. This is the slavery, okay? Because they were being held as captives and slaves on the plantation of USA. So under military occupation, they were turned into franchisees, into corporations, subject to all debt. They had zero rights, okay? We'll get to this in a bit because that happened later. So 1862, Lincoln and the Tsar of Russia opposed these guys and their bank. So the Tsar parked a naval fleet in New York and San Francisco, and they blocked anybody from trying to do anything. So it really helped them. So in 1865, he announced that they were having issues with the banking, and basically that led to his death, because we just saw in the former who was in the Golden Knights, okay? And he actually set up another person. This guy actually lived after his death. So under I'll just read this. So in the 14th Amendment was ratified, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to its jurisdiction are therefore citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. This would end slavery. But under the Lieber Code, the citizen can only be found within the jurisdiction of the United States, which is in D.C. This would mean only the government employees, all those in the territories occupied by Washington DC, and former slaves. The rest of the population was not subject to this and could still claim jurisdiction under the original Constitution. So there again, how do they get pin money to the citizen? By subjecting them to debt. So after the Civil War defaulted on its debt, the lawyers created a snaky loophole within Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 of the U.S. Constitution, which allows a duplicate entity known as the Corporation of the United States of America. It replaced the failing Republic States of America. So in 1871, this is super important. The Organic Act was done through the District of Columbia. The United States were incorporated. They were chartered in the city of London. Congress was its board of directors. They were under control of martial law. And because of that Lieber Code, federal jurisdiction expanded not only to include captured citizens, but all Americans in all states. So America lost her sovereignty to the Crown of England and bankers. So with those two changes, they basically made everybody slaves, I guess is the best way I'm trying to say it. Everybody. And we all lost our sovereignty. They all lost their sovereignty. I'm just pretending I'm an American because this affects the entire world. During this exact moment, the Corporation of the United States adopted its own constitution. The Constitution for the United States of America, in all lowercase except for America, was changed to, all capitals, the Constitution of the United States of America. Of America. Of the United States. No titles and nobility clause was in there at all. That was removed in this Constitution. So the original one said no rulers could be in the country if you're from another country. And, well, you couldn't rule anything. And this one said, yes, we can. In 1871, General Pike, Albert Pike, the guy that started the other group, like the shmay, wanted a one world government. He wanted an NWO, and he was the director of it. So he actually planned the three, I know put this, three for a reason, WWs in the 20th century. Those were the dark side's directives. And in the first one, they had atheist communist state in Russia. So they wanted to do that, which they did. Then number two was the Jewish Holocaust under the fascist Zed state of Israel to support the Rothschilds. And I already told you in the first video, these people here are the patron saints of that, because they basically funded the entire country. Okay? So the number three one was to manipulate Christians against Muslims for their own annihilation. And basically political Zen would prevail. They needed some cash because most of Europe was in debt. So guess where they went again? You got it. Getting good, guys. I'm hoping I'm moving along fast. So after the Civil War, America was awesome again. The dark side sent this guy to infiltrate Wall Street, along with this guy and this guy. They wanted full control. So Schmorgan over here and started a rumor, basically, which said that this company was insolvent. Give us our money. We need money. So that threatened to implode the whole banking system. Okay? He basically chose which ones he was going to bail out. Guess which one he didn't bail out at all? Was the corporation. So, and loans were due in 1912. 1912. So what they did was they met in 1910 at this place to discuss the foreclosure of this. Okay? So this senator, this man, I hope you can see it, Schmorgan, this people, all representing the dark side. This is all the dark side. Proposed to extend the debt for 20 years. If the United States would agree to charter a bank of last resorts, okay? Serve as last resorts. Okay, because Taft said would never sign that away to the Americans in the system to the dark side and the bankers, they waited until progressive Mr. Wilson generously donated, the dark side generously donated to Wilson's campaign. We've heard that recently too. Many powerful forces were opposed to the creation of a private central bank, okay? Many. So what happened in this year? We get to this, and I'm going to put this order here. I'll put it on my, this is the ship's captain basically said this the day. So we have the Titanic, which was actually a different ship, the Olympic, on April 15th, 1912. So this was another big insurance hoax done by these people, okay? He had a ticket at the last minute and he canceled it. This ship here, the Olympic, originally had the year before had a collision with an old warship named the Hawk in 1911. It had so much bigger damage. So the insurance was increased on the new ship 5 days before sailing, but they were swapped. And there's a fellow who actually, this guy, saw the swap go out. And he said he knew that there was a whole bunch of things. And actually, when you go to look at pictures, you can go find pictures of the sunken Titanic. And there's an M and a P on it in writing on the ship. So who died on this ship, really, that you need to know? That's so important. Get this off of here. Sorry. So who died on this ship? Well, first, the builder of the ship died on the ship. I just got to put this straight so you can all see it. So that's this guy here. But these people, Astor, Isidore Strauss, who was half owners of Macy's, his brother actually took over his other half and became a powerful businessman. So Guggenheim, he was a big, huge mining magnate. So Thayer had Pennsylvania Railroad. This Wick guy was a mining magnate. Hayes was another railroad guy. But this guy, you guys need to know, W.T. Steed. He was a highly influential editor with the Pall Mall Gazette. He had been researching child prostitution in London. He was a devoted spiritualist. He predicted his own death, actually. I think, oh, I've gotten goosebumps. I think he was in the right place at the right time and heard the wrong thing and was put on that ship because of what's been going on. Okay, so this is very important. You need to know this. So these guys all died. Okay, then what happened? The beginning of 1913, the U.S. had defaulted on its war debt and they were denied a new line of credit. They had no other sources of funding. So they went along with the original plan of the, okay? So that now senator on December 23rd, while everybody was away on holidays, pushed through the federal schmeserve, okay? Wilson signed it, gave them basically permission to print money. They were now a foreign corporation, basically. Foreign corporation, running in a foreign corporation, chartered under the Crown of England. So they were unelected board. It's secretive of how they even control this money. It says that they're a nonprofit. That's the funniest thing ever I learned, okay? So because the Gov had to pay back all this debt, they put interest on all the currency. So what they did was for every dollar, it was 6 cents on the dollar. The interest portion was never entered into the money supply. It kept printing enough and kept the debt generating from day one. So it didn't matter what your loan said. Whatever your loan interest was always hidden, basically. Best way I can say it. 1913, Congress forced pass income tax amendment. So they initially levied the 1% voluntary on 3% and then the progressive. This is all to get back at their money for the wars. So the rich people didn't have to pay any tax because they set up all these great foundations that they said were a nonprofit. So yeah, that's what happened right there. So there was a ratification of the 16th Amendment. We're getting to. Ratification of the 16th Amendment was technically not ratified. So basically what it means is it says that you're not supposed to pay tax, but they make you pay tax. That's the bottom line. So Congress tried to enact the income tax in 1894, and the Supreme Court said it was unconstitutional. They tried again, and they said again it was unconstitutional. This has nothing to do with the United States Constitution, original. But remember, it was replaced with that new corporate. Okay, so then what happened in 1933? They had to declare bankruptcy again. So how are they going to make all citizens do that? Well, they create a nice little charter known as the Bureau of that. They were illegally acting on behalf of the government. They never even were able to do it. They were moved to Puerto Rico. That's where these people are, these 3-digit. And in 1953, they changed their name. So they're actually a Puerto Rican trust. And they're a Department of Treasury, and they're Commonwealth of Puerto Rico. So they basically go around the whole system to divert funds directly into this 3-letter. Okay? Why, I wonder? Why? So who are these people and what is it? It's the International Monetary Fund. They're made up of, it's owned by several banks in Europe and North America. They're owned by the Crown of England. That's where your income tax goes, basically. Boing, right there. So evidence is proved to be found on a master file that is paid in some obscure hidden work. And it's contained in all our IRS files. So there's the manual code. Incorrectly classified Americans as all domicile corporations. So, yeah, so we're basically foreigners on a dead piece of paper living in a foreign country, and they're betting money on us at this time, if that makes sense. So here's my fake account of my $1 million, and they move it over after they take all the tax off. They take all the tax and they put it in Puerto Rico. Okay. And that goes right to here. I hope that makes sense. So how come this all happened? And on your form 1020, it says right on there that you're subject to it. And this all happened way back in 1213 when King John and Pope Innocent III pledged England as a vassal state of the Holy Roman Empire. So in 1297, the treaty was used to incorporate the city as an independent state controlled by the governing England without relying on the monarchy. Okay? I'm going to leave this up here for just a second while I pop over and make sure I'm still streaming live. Okay. I can't see any of your comments, you guys. Yeah. Okay. So it's still going good there. And I hope my camera is still recording. Okay. So U.S. citizens were now enslaved by debt of financial division of the big church. And they were headquartered in the city of London. So from 1690, Pope Innocent hired William of Orange to dispose of the Stuart king and to create the Charter Bank of England, which is, again, located, this is where all the money is. And since 1913, not 1 cent collected from this has gone to there. Not 1 cent. Okay, so this is how it gets divided, apparently. 67% is divided and goes of that money right to 67 of your schmacks dollars goes to lizard breath. 23% is a dividend paid to the dark side bank that just got set up. and 10% is just basically bribes. So I'm going to show you what happens now. So person pays tax, government reports it in book 1, government gives it to tax of Crown of England, this collects money for the Crown, and then essentially for the bank. Federal government is fully funded by, if you're wondering where they get their money from, by different sources and off-budget accounting on the comprehensive financial report. So this comprehensive annual financial report is this. And what I mean by this is there's 2 sets of books. There's one, and then there's another one, okay? And we're going to get to that. I think I put this on a chart, but I have this for my own. Okay. So in this, yes, I did. Look at me. I'm not going to say all of these. So I'll have pictures of them. So in 1977, the government created the Accounting Standards Board, which basically made all financial statements kind of generic, but it also gave them full power to make these statements look like whatever the hell they wanted them to look like. So there's 2 statements. There's the CAFR, and in this, like I just said, there's a budget report, which is the ones the public sees, and they report on taxes, where any of those would go, fines and fees. The financial statements, the ones that we don't get to see, their income generated from all of these things. Okay? Stocks, bonds, portfolio, like all that imaginary stuff over here. That's what this is. In these financial statements, this money is all kept away from the taxpayers. And what I mean by that, in 2005, 148,000 individual government financial statements totaling $110 trillion on the federal, state, and local. In this, 110 trillion were kept hidden. People are going, where are we going to get our money to pay all this stuff? Well, I don't know. You figure it out. I'm serious. This is crazy. So the reason they're doing it is so we don't have any money. We don't know what you're talking. We don't know what you're talking about. So just to give you an idea, in these, they own in 2000 82% stock of Microsoft, 61 of Disney, 58 of AL Time Warner, 72 of Exxon. They're literally manipulating and controlling the whole market just so we pay income tax. It's basically rigged to make or break businesses. And if you don't believe in the dark side, they will break you, period. So they make a lot of money off that healthcare. Lots and lots of money. So this is all just so we keep paying those fat dollars. So give you an idea, at these levels, they're usually about a 33 to 63%. Only the 33% is really revealed. So if the government modified it a little bit and just created what's called these funds, and they took all of these monies with just a small amount of little money, you could basically pay off all the debts right away. You would only need half of that money. So with the current surplus and what you get from the future revenue in 5 years, to give you an example, in 1998, the government collected 1.8 trillion in schmaxes, 1.6 another. So they collected all of this money, only reported 8.5, and then it was actually 8.7. It's actually 17.2, okay? So the government was responsible then in 1998 for 49% of the income of the whole country. In 2009, it's responsible for 70%. That's 11 years ago. 70% of all the money made is made from the government, not, yeah, crazy. So they basically been rigging it and doing all of these things. They bought up media so they won't report it. Lots of offshoring accounts. So they restricted, it's just been so crazy that basically in 1978, they basically made offshore things so they could hide the income, set up domicile corporations in the Cayman Islands where they'd only pay 0.02 or 1.5 income tax after deductions. They use derivatives. And what all derivatives is again? Fake money. So they credit swap. That's what they call it, credit swap derivatives. Like, come on. It's just like they try and use these fancy words. So short term, long term, like oil, stocks, certificates, all of that. They basically, with what I said, fractional reserve banking, they have to make the loans to keep their bubble going. If they don't make the loans, they don't have this fake money. If they don't make these fake money loans. So how can you take my $9 million that's fake on that original 1 million and go borrow it to some oil country? Well, you can't, because there's no 9 million, you can't borrow it. But that 9 million can turn into hundreds of billions of dollars because there's nothing governing that 9 million from being increased and being swapped out through these markets. Nothing's stopping that facade. Okay. So Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution mandates that debts can only be paid in gold. And why is that important? Oh, let me see. Oh, so assets are exchanged for fiat money. There's basically, it's invisible money. So in the Constitution, it says it must be paid in gold and silver. So in 1971, Nixon took all the old notes from Gold Standard, who had been using illegal money. It has no intrinsic value, basically. He did it to issue it into money supply, so it could only be issued by taking loans. So now the money didn't have any value to it at all, zero. But again, we're going to go over the people who actually wanted to print more money, and you know who those people are. So early in the 1900s, the bankers got around to the Constitution's restrictions by causing a clause within the Federal Reserve Act. So it says that the Federal Reserve is the only notes can only be used by the Federal Reserve Bank, which the Federal Reserve consider all the people who use that money as employees of the Federal Reserve. This is their fancy shuffle footwork. So the American people now are all federal agents, and now they had to pay all the money again to World War I, World War II. It's just a public distraction. It's so we wouldn't find out about the FRAUD going on in the Schmereserve and all over the money system. So going back to this part here, because this is important now. So in 1915, I had to explain that part of the money because I'm going to explain how they manipulate everything. So back to 1915, and the Morgan guy went to 12 newspapers, very influential, and bought by the dark side. And they basically spread their ideas. They bought 25 newspapers, spread their ideas of NWO. So he got together with Wilson and others and created what's called the Council of Foreign Relations. So these three groups right here, I've said before, in 1921, made up, literally, they make up the dark side, okay? So they control everything with the power of I just went into. So in 1929, because they had the puppets on a string, everybody was a puppet on a string. Loans were called in, nobody had any money, people went bankrupt. This guy told his rich friends, get out of the stock market. And he was the chair of the Council of Foreign Relations, and he was an advisor to this place. So guess what happened then? All his rich friends had money, and all of the poor people didn't. So there were Great Depressions, and the loans were due, and the bankruptcy was looming. So Wilson extended the debt by signing the act. People began redeeming notes for gold and silver back then because they knew that they could only be backed by then. But Roosevelt on March 9th, 1933 is like, no. He declared the corporation the United States bankrupt. He passed emergency banking, closed banks for 4 days. He reorganized, prevented any more Federal Reserve notes from being redeemed. And on the 5th of April, he confiscated people's gold through the Gold Confiscation Act. Yes. So why is that important now? Is because a lot of things happened in between then and now. So I'm going to go back and forth a little bit here, because when President Roosevelt signed that act, he gave dictatorial powers to create any law without consulting Congress, just by publishing in the Federal Registry. So a Federal Registry is just like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. Nobody reads it. So he just went ahead and did it. So what happened with all of this going on, we know that, I hope I didn't do this backwards. Yes, I did. Hold on. I'll just put this one. We'll put this here. I knew I was going to have a couple that were effed up. So in 1938, the Supreme Court ratified Roosevelt's emergency banking proclamation. He changed the constitutional republic into a legislative democracy. Basically, public law was changed into public policy. This is important. Merchant law was replaced with admiralty law, suspending the Constitution. So no president since FDR has changed the U.S. constitutional law. So there's 3 types of law. Now we keep talking about them. Common law, which means us, we the people. No harm, no foul. If you're just driving around and without a license, who cares? You didn't hurt anybody. That's what that means. Contract law is about houses and all of this stuff. Okay? And admiralty law. And that's to the ships and the boats and shipping. And they use military tribunals instead of the Constitution and Bill of Rights. Why is this important? Because in times of war, admiralty law extends into the interior of the United States. On December 16th, 1950, Truman declared a state of national emergency. That's the gold fringe on the flags. This is at the beginning of the Korean War, and those fringes still are on the flags today. Okay? So because of that bankruptcy in 1933, they couldn't borrow from the banks. So they still had to make us pay. We got to pay. Those citizens got to pay. So they incorporated our birth certificates. They basically registered you with your live birth certificates at the Department of Transportation, gave you a birth certificate, your name's in all capital letters. They used your future labor as collateral to the Federal Reserve to repay the debts. Your birth certificate is not owned by you. You are an employee of the Federal Reserve. That goes to all of us in North America, for sure. Okay, that's called a straw man. It's the Foreign Situs Trust. So I'm going to make sure I'm like following along here and getting the right dates here so I'm not jumping ahead. So, sorry. Sorry about that, folks. Ah! I knew that was going to happen. Look, live video. This is how technical we are. All right. I only have one down. One down. One for the cards. Okay, so there is a code, basically. Title code 26 USC 16, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So you've signed away your rights on your SS5 form to let them deposit the $1 million deposit on your birth certificate and then debt your extra $9 million. So that's how they revolve your money around. I'm not sure how to access this. Please don't ask me yet. I don't think you will need to. by the way. So it doesn't matter. So by receiving your Social Security, you're now a federal employee and eligible to challenge bankruptcy of the United States. You're no longer even a state citizen. So in 1933, the assets were placed under Secretary Treasurer Receiver. In 1944, the IMF created World Bank, and all of these allowed banks to capture within the United States all the gold, all the parks, and all the nonprofit corporations. They also all property of 14th Amendment citizens. That's our birth certificate bonds, according to the Bretton Woods Agreement. So I'm going to get to the Bretton Woods Agreement in a second. Okay. So that's why I was supposed to read that. IMF has 51% ownership of corporate government. That's all of these, and they actually own the people who pay the employees of the federal government. So in 1945, the UN was established, and it's in, you need to know this, the heart of the financial district, the Crown of England, where they recaptured her colonies. So they have the full control over the full world's financial system in that area. So here's what happens. Okay, so the Bretton Woods Agreement basically said in 1971, they mandated the price of gold. Only foreigners could redeem the US dollar for gold, and foreigners have a lot of the money. So this set the inflation of gold so high that the foreigners made lots of money in their trust funds. Nixon removed that convertibility from the dollar, and now it's backed by oil. So in 1971, it literally went from precious metals and other things and fake money debt or whatever. We were trying to do gold back with Kennedy, and that didn't happen. So he created again a Department of Energy to stop any industry from competing against that oil money. After they confiscated, he changed the provision within the 1978 Trading with the Enemy Act. He made all U.S. citizens of the states basically declared war on his own people. So they needed new conflicts to maintain control over the people. So this is how it all goes about. Like just lying, stealing, cheating, whatever. So I'm going to put this here and go to this chart again. So everybody's got the United Nations in their head. Okay, so in 1962, National Governors Convention, the governors, IMF leaders, reincorporated all the same states under the jurisdiction of the IMF. So they didn't have any more constitutional law, uniform the commercial code into federal. They only enforced administrative tribunals, admiralty law, strict set of codes. So all states incorporated under these guidelines lost all of their constitutional protections, and we were all made slaves. Okay, again. So we know what happened in 1963. Kennedy signed an executive order. I love this number, by the way, 11-11-0. And that he said, all of our money now, like get rid of this funny money. This is enough of this. And he even made an awesome thing on an awesome live address before he was killed. So we know why he was killed. So in 1981, President Reagan did what's called the Grace Commission report. And he found out that there was no money, zero, in being paid from our income taxes into the actual federal government. So you guys are all going to be shocked to know this, but he was actually killed and replaced with a clone. So the clone could continue on the presidency. So the Federal Reserve now turned the United States from a constitutional republic into a debtor's nation. They just keep having to make more debts so they can greed. Okay. The dark side needs to feed the green. Stop it. Now we're getting to the good. I don't even know how to pronounce his name or say it right or spell it. So I apologize in advance, Mr. Schlesinger. So his dad basically took out a mortgage with the First Energy. I think that's what it was. His dad basically lost his property. He got kicked off his land by his dad dying, and so he moved on to land, and the bank says, no, that's our land. Forget it. On a stupid clause. So he got mad and he started investigating. He was then contracted. He was so good at it, he was contracted by the US Senate and later Supreme Court. He had to sign a strict non-disclosure agreement. So he can't really talk about the things that he investigates. But what he did was he worked together with a big, huge military personnel, high-ranking, to form a class action lawsuit. And this is a really important lawsuit for everyone to know. So the Baskervilles were against the bank, because they basically took away their house. They didn't need to. They won in a federal court, but the bank still didn't give them back their house. So 23 other farmers, ranchers, and indigenous joined suit when they had problems too, when their property wasn't returned. And they went, and the banks were actually either illegally foreclosing or not crediting the mortgage payments. So they were just taking the money and putting it in a pocket and going home for the weekend. Nice. So they got together and went against with the Farmers Credit System. They went against the Federal Land Bank and the Federal Farmers Credit System. They won. They won that. They agreed. They're like, yeah, this is all baloney. But what happened? They didn't make payments again. Big surprise. Okay. So when they didn't make payments, the farmers declared involuntary Chapter 7 bankruptcy against these people. They appealed, insisting that they were a federal agency, not a business. The farmers' team of lawyers got so smart. They went to the Federal Land Bank's charter, and they looked in there and saw that they're not allowed to make loans directly to applicants, but instead only can back loans as a guarantee. So in case they defaulted, the banks would pay. That's what's supposed to happen, not take away the land. So that farmers claim, basically, the government got mad. They imposed big fees, tried to imprison lots of people. The farmers' credit, they found out, were never allowed in the first place to do business with the American banking system, nor the federal housing, nor the development of housing, nor urban development, not even the Fed Reserve. Okay? They weren't allowed to do any of it, but they did it anyways. So in the 1990s, this Schlesinger Jr. brought a case to Supreme Court, and they decided unanimously and almost immediately that all property foreclosed on was illegal, and the damages, in addition, had to be paid out to these farmers. Like, just pay them. They also found out that not only did they defraud the farmers, but all U.S. citizens out of vast sums of money. Right? These farmers. That's where Willie Nelson and the Farm Aid comes in, you guys. I love Willie, by the way. So Supreme Court revealed that then, too, that the three-digit money collectors were a Puerto Rican trust, and that it was unlawful, and that only 4 states ratified that actual amendment. Therefore, it wasn't legal at all. But they were still foreclosing and all of this. And so an ex-CIA testimony basically brought that stuff to a close. So all gold, silver property must be returned to the people by these people. So these people are working with a benevolent group of visionaries, politicians, business people to restore the Constitution since 1950. So in their team, there was a 4-star general who received the original UN 1933 bankruptcy. He found it magically. They ruled in his favor, giving the Army general title over the United States Inc. Okay, that obviously peeved off a whole pile of people. So what's been going on in this is in 1991, the senior signed an executive order, says that anyone who has a claim against the federal government to receive payment, as long as it's the rules of the original format of the case. So he goes all the way back to 1913. All present and succeeding debts against the U.S. Treasury must be assumed by the payout damages in gold back. Yay, okay. So the farmers were able to use that executive order from this 1913 to get all the payments not only paid in gold back, they were able to receive the legal ownership of the bankruptcy because of this. So to collect the damages, they had to go use the 14th Amendment attachment, which allows citizens to collect damages if government fails to protect citizens from harm or damages by a foreign government. The corporation is a foreign government. And before, remember, in the Organic Act, they listed all of us as enemy combatants. So they got together and they're like, look, you just need to pay this stuff back, okay? So the farmers team made some provisions. They're like, you need to pay this back in gold. As per the Constitution, you need to go back to common law instead of the Admiralty law and all the gold fringe, because when they put Admiralty law on in 1950, when Truman declared a state of emergency, that Admiralty law basically made us all in the U.S. captives of them under military tribunal and all of their dumb laws. So we just want to go back to common law, where it is basically our Magna Carta. It's our Bill of Rights. We have the, where we're just living off of our Bill of Rights and Constitution. No harm, no foul. Like all of these contracts and, oh, you got a speeding ticket and all of these fines and fees, that's all just money corporation debt collection. So what happened, the farmer settlement was sealed. But if they had paid out $20 million to the 336,000 claims, it would have been $6.6 trillion. They settled on something, and it placed a gag order on all the information struck from the records. And then an office senator, Sam Nunn, who has the records original in his office. So Janet Reno sealed these documents, and the case was settled out of court. Now, Janet Reno is super important to this story. So in 1992, task force was set up, and 300 retired and 35 active military who supported constitutional law, were basically investigating all these dirty people. And they found out that 800 trillion should have been applied to the national debt. 800 trillion. I don't even know what the national debt is. Found most countries owed the United States, not the other way around. So this guy was claimed of saying that on the TV. And then on December 25th, he sneakily tried to sign an executive order that would close all banks immediately and remove everybody's rights. But the military stepped in and stopped him. So in 93, Clinton and the Supreme Court and military returned constitutional law, reforms of banking. So he's like, yes, well, we'll do that, but we're gonna basically do it, but you have to file $300 per claim. So you put it out of anybody's hands because there's so many claims, 336,000, 100,000. So what happened in 1993, Janet Reno got together with the Delta Force, Navy SEALs, to go with the cooperation of England and Israel and Switzerland. Excuse me. I'll let you read it for a sec. Okay. She basically, with the cooperation, wanted to capture all these gold reserves. Trillions and trillions of dollars, okay? She got killed off after that. And then cloned, and then she went to work back with the Clintons. So despite being protected, that original general who had the 1933 bankruptcy was killed and cloned. Excuse me. But Janet Reno was able to capture that gold and stockpile it in a complex in NORAD. And this is all used. This is the money that was collected for the rainbow currency. Okay. So there's another guy opposing it, and he was killed and cloned. So in 1993, the farmers' claim changed their names to the bank claims. So this is why it's important now to know that it's bank claims, because that's what George Bush was saying, like, anything you a bank claim, we basically, blah blah blah. So what they decided to do in 1993 to 1996, they required the US citizens to file bank claims to collect the damages, and they assigned justices. So in that time, there was a group named the White Knights, and they were the savers of the bad company. So they got together, this group of people. I'm gonna list, this is the second one. Oh no, I'll do this one first. To create this lovely, lovely, lovely National Economic Security and Reformation Act. So where I'm going to talk about this, and I'm going to leave this up, I tried to do it in the nicest writing that I could. So as you can tell from the farmers' claim, the bank's claim, they wanted this same thing. And this was the start of many, many attempts to get this rolling. So this has been going on for quite some time. I'm just going to look for my other sheet here. Just make sure I'm not missing. Yeah, that's all good. So, whoopsie. Okay, perfect. Okay, so what this would do, this National Economic Security and Reformation Act, is Nesara, is it would zero out all credit cards, mortgages, other bank debt due to illegal government and banking activity. That's what these groups this whole time have been kind of trying to come back and do over and over and over and again. So it would also abolish the income tax. It abolishes the IRS. It makes them employees of the US Treasury in the National Sales Tax Department, which is this, a 14%, I don't know if it's 14 or 17% flat tax rate on non-essential. It's new items only. It's not on groceries. It's not on food, clothing, shelter, stuff like that. I believe it's on like new homes, new cars, things like that. So it increases benefits to seniors. Yay! Our seniors are going to get money back. Returns constitutional law to all courts for legal matters. That means all of these baloney things, like even just think about getting caught with a joint somewhere. Like, come on, like all of that will be removed. Like, it's not hurting you're not hurting anybody. Who am I hurting? That's always what I ask. Who am I hurting? So that's what kind of law we're going back to. And that's super important. We have rights and freedoms to just travel freely. So it reinstates the original title of Nobility Amendment, which means they can't, nobility, all of these people are going to be foreigners now. They're going to be shipped out of the country. They will not be allowed to be in the United States doing any business because they belong to the crown. They're infiltrating. They were spies way back then. Okay? They'll establish new presidential and congressional elections within 120 days. Within 120 days of announcement. The interim government, I spelled that wrong, will cancel national emergency and return us back to the constitutional law. So whoever that interim government is will be returning us back to constitutional law right away, which is like, I believe the military will be there. So number 9, what does the president keep talking about right now? No voter fraud monitors election. No voter fraud monitors election. So that's by an impartial party. Impartial. Okay? So it will create a new treasury currency, rainbow currency, backed gold, silver, and platinum. Okay? Look at my goosebumps. Oh, I get crying when I hear that. See that? Feel that? Okay. It ends the sale of our birth certificates. Ends the sale of our birth certificates. We are no longer chattel. Yes. Okay. It initiates a U.S. Treasury bank system alignment with constitutional law. This is the truth time. Okay. Truth time. And I believe it's unbreakable. It eliminates these dark side. They'll run the dark side bills beside the light side bills for 1 year. just to get them out of currency, because it is my belief that over, I think it's 90% of the wealth held on the planet right now in US currency is by foreigners. 90%. 90%. Americans don't even own their own money. Isn't that weird? So it will restore financial privacy. Now I'm going to go back to this, the news banking system. It was created in 1999. Okay, I might have missed that somewhere in there, but I'll get to it in a second if I haven't gone over it. So why that's important is because that's the golden loop, I think, it operates in truth time, that Sergeant Robert Horton told us about in War Castles and put together, and I'm going to screw his name up, by Gould. I'll just say his last name, Gould. And Miller, Gould and Miller, those two guys. So what also it's going to do is it's going to retrain all judges and attorneys in constitutional law. Literally no more of bribery, all of this stuff. That won't happen. Because what's going to happen is, I don't know how to explain it, but we're already living in a matrix where every keystroke, every conversation, everything we do is recorded. Everything. Every single thing. We're meat suits in a matrix. So now what that's going to mean is if you're not harming another meat suit, and we're working in a system of truth time where nobody can really steal our money if our intentions aren't pure when we go to take out our money, then that's how we maintain our financial privacy. So I think of it like my Minority Report, for the good. For the good. Okay, so it gets rid of all the malarkey, all the paperwork, all those court fees, fines, everything. I call it the rounders. Okay, I'll give you an example. I gets a bus ticket it doesn't have a bus ticket, which is $3.50 here. So he gets a $300 fine. That $300 fine probably costs about $6,000 to go through a court, just for a $3.50 bus ticket, where he didn't harm anybody. He was just riding the bus. Riding the bus. So that's what's going to get rid of all of that baloney. So it ceases all aggressive U.S. military actions worldwide. I want everyone to go look, which I made my lovely assistant, Amelia. And by the way, Amelia, thank you so much for helping me put this together. I love you. She went and looked up how many wars have been involved in the last 4 years. How many conflicts? None. So that's amazing right there. It establishes peace worldwide. Worldwide, okay? Now, you know that the peace has started already. There's a few things that are happening, but we know why, okay? So this is my favorite one. Number 18 is almost my favorite one. It releases enormous sums of money for humanitarian purposes. Now I'm going to cry, because every single person I know that's awake just wants to help these children. They want to help people get better. They want to stop this trafficking. So I think this world is going to be a much better place. And it's not because of the money. It's because of the intention behind this system. So that's what makes it awesome. That's what makes it awesome, is all these truth tellers out there trying to get this established for humanity, because money is just energy. You guys, money is just energy. And when we have infinite energy, we can help people infinitely. Just like they have been taking out their infinite interest amounts in all of their baloney schemes, okay? So, apologize that I'm getting up, but this shows me that Saint Germain is behind this movement, okay? 100%. So it enables release over 6,000 patents of suppressed technology. I keep saying to you, we are so far behind in our technology, dudes. I can't wait to get one of those pod scooters like on Star Wars. Ooh, you know, like that's going to be so awesome. Or fly somewhere with one of those jetpacks. Like, or how about the healing sonic technology? I'm going to roll one of the beds over to the next door neighbors to the complex there and just heal as many people. Cause step right up, 4 minutes. Yep. You can come back tomorrow. Let's get zapped. However that's going to look. I'm just so excited about it. So that's why we've been working so hard to tell the truth. It's not about the money. It's about the freedom of the people and the freedom of the children. So moving on to let you just know a few, I'm going to bring this up again and leave with it. But there's been some people who've really tried to stop this. Okay. So, and yeah, let me just make sure. Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm not skipping anything for everybody. Yeah, I'm good. Okay, I'm good. So sorry if it's taking a little longer, but the information is necessary. So Nesara was actually approved a while ago in 2001, 18 months after it became law. And I thought I had a sheet somewhere that basically said, yeah, that when it was coming into, but I don't know, I must have misplaced it. So anyways, what happened is on September 10th, 2001, George Sr. moved into the White House. September 11th at 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, Alan Greenspan was scheduled to announce a new U.S. Treasury system, debt forgiveness. It was the first part of Nesara. Just before that announcement at 9 o'clock in the morning, the computers were stopped on the first and second floor. In the North Tower, they were stopped from initiating that new system. We also know what happened. Now we know, we've seen pictures, I have anyways, that there's detonation devices in the towers for weeks ahead by these art students who are actually these people planting all of this crap in there. So if you want to know why the Pentagon was hit, it's where these white knights and their new office was. They were trying to take them out. So, and detonated Building 7. All of this was just a big, literal insurance scam, just like the Titanic. Okay? Now, what happened is these dark side is constantly trying to stop it. But it's already been said, as I said before, that the farmers get paid out of the trust first. They're going to get ATM cards, and they're going to come from these bankroll prosperity programs. So on December 15th, 2006, there's a big, huge, great meeting with the global family, St. Germain, Enlightened Family, key players of 43 players, World Bank, IMF, and the Rothschilds. They all had to goals of basically releasing these money. I stopped at this point because I want you guys to go research this yourself if you want to know how the money is getting released. I don't really think it's super important at this time because it's just a lot of unwinding. I'll go right back to the other thing in a second and explain it in a basic verb. So Congress approved in September 19th, 2007, had approved the new gold back banking. And that new gold back banking actually went online. They went online. That new one that was created in 1999 at 12 a.m. went online, wasn't deployed. So it's been sitting there for 13 years, over 13 years, or almost 13 years, waiting to be deployed. So on April 4th, 2008, marked the end of the U.S. bankruptcy. So we didn't have to pay any more taxes from there. What happened then is they began shorting all the derivatives. You know, they needed to create some more money because they thought people are going to be coming after them or whatever. So on September 30th, 2009, the U.S. fiscal year came to a close. They were in a totally bad place with their fake money holdings. All the floating money didn't look like they had enough for them. So China got all mad and were like, no, we're not taking your phony money anymore for your national debt. We're going to go back to that Article 1, Section 10 of the United States Constitution, and we want gold or silver only. So what you must need to know is this guy, Obama, was trying to steal. This totally tweaked me off, by the way. Don't let it tweak you off, okay? Don't let it tweak you off. I took the tweak for you. Was trying to steal $400 billion in one of these prosperity funds. He asked for $1 trillion ransom, $1 trillion ransom. Saint Germain went up to him and said, look, dude, no. N-O. So Obama said, okay, I'll go along with you, Saint Germain. But then the cabal changed that mind. So back again, he tries again in March 2009 to try and steal $200 trillion. Now you guys are going to be really tweaked off. Originally stolen from Holocaust victims by the N people. Obama didn't care. He didn't care. He's like, this is my money. I don't care. You can't do a thing about it. What a jerk. What a jerk. That's not a G, but I want to say some bad word and I'm trying not to swear. So anyways, so all of that money that he tried to steal has been sitting in a bank for 60 years collecting interest. So that's some more money. So in 2009, China was in control, literally, of the entire U.S. government. So Obama and China tried to hack in to another trust account. And they were stopped. Excuse me. So then Obama tries some more scams. The Olympics. He borrowed some money, bought some crappy property around Chicago site. He bribed the committee. Couldn't come up with the money to actually pay them. So they're like, book, get out of here. The Queen of England, President of France, and his aunt, yes, his aunt Merkel, were involved in another scam. So it just goes on and on. I had to stop at so many things where this guy, the former guy who everybody thinks is so great, didn't do such great things. I had no idea. I'm not a political person. I'm not a religious person. I didn't even know this stuff happened until like recently. So, wow. Anyways, he was borrowing money to bribe judges, and in every step, the white knights are blocking him. Like, he also called Americans trash, just so you know, and himself a king. And I did hear him do a not very good video yesterday or the day before where he actually said something about eating something of a woman's body part that Donald Trump got accused of saying all the time. And it was like right there. It wasn't a tape recording. That could have been whatever. So when Hillary went running for her big campaign, it was actually funded by all of these people who are backing this guy. Okay. And we learned that this guy was behind the media, and he's also part of the dark side. So along with this guy and this guy. So what they're all doing right now, these people are just trying at every stop, or their minions at every stop, to try and stop what's happening. Okay. Trying to stop everything from being released. So the white knights are out there, 1,500 military personnel in the DOD and Secret Base Council. They're working with the director of Admiral from Naval Intelligence, and they're receiving information on a new quantum computer. Okay. So, which I think is bringing to the end of my things. So I'm just going to flip it over and explain how money gets released here and through this part again. So these, here, let's look. These are my fun finish off cards with. So in these secret accounts, there's in this secretive used by sovereign entities, in this collateral account of the global debt facility, you guys are going to crap your pants. Like, how much money is in there? 20 metric tons of gold minimum, platinum, silver, precious metals, gems, foreign sovereign certificates, collateralized by copper, uranium, nickel, art treasures, King Solomon's gold, okay, is all in this account here. It basically would zero out all debt. And if you want to know how much money is that, this is where they tried to steal it from too, is this one right here. Oh yeah, never mind. It was stolen by Bush, Clinton, and Obama, 200 trillion. So yeah, they're protected assets. Okay. Oh, they've all tried to block these prosperity programs. See, bank trades and rest is, okay, so now, this is my favorite part. Okay, now, I will tell you why people are like, where are we going to get all the money from this? Like, where's all the money? Everybody take a deep breath. Everybody take a deep breath, okay? Because I am about to tell you, you cannot even imagine how this is going to change everybody's life. Money is energy, okay? These are booster packs. We've been playing with Monopoly money our whole lives, and we've been working as slaves. And I think what really frosts my muffins about this whole BLM movement that was put on by Shmoros and the dark side to get us divided, and this versus none, it's all division. It's all division and distraction, because they want to keep us divided and busy making them money. That's the only thing. Think about who's making money from the masks, who's making money from the hand sanitizers, who's gaining from all of us being distracted. Who is gaining financially? Follow the money. Well, I just followed the money for you, where we've been bamboozled. We've been pilfered. We've been had our rights stripped away. We've been slaves. We've been literally taken as slaves and held hostage by the American dream. The American dream. So, knowing that, it takes 4 and 5 signatures out of every one of these programs to get the money flowing. That's been started a long time ago. Okay, that has been started a long time ago. Some of these people are getting their loans paid off and debts paid off and things like that. I've heard this already. Okay? So what the world is coming to right now, we are coming to equality for every human being. And the reason why Nesara is so important to understand, because the humanitarians working to release this money are going to affect so much positive mental change that depression, our bipolar, the suicides, the foreclosures, the divorce, the not being able to feed your children, the food banks, the food stamps, all of that will be stopping. All of it. Now I'm upset for joy. I'm full of joy because I know that this is so close. It's so close. So I'm going to tell you how much friggin' money is in that account. Are you guys waiting? I put 2 things. With 250 years of interest on that money that Saint Germain originally put into that account, it is, I don't even know this number. I didn't even know. I think billion is a funny word now. Trillion's a funny word. But this is 1 quattrodecian dollars. That is 1 with 45 zeros behind it. 1 with 45. I want everybody to write that number down. 1 with 45. That's like 45 zeros. Now you take our population on this earth and you divide it, even take 10% of that amount and divide it, there is not going to be one person that will be without. Not one person. There will be new technologies. There will be everything. So I'm going to put this back up here again. So I just think that everybody needs to start focusing on the life that you would live if you weren't consumed by the darkness of your debt. Because debt is a sin. Debt is a sin. They have basically taken us at pinpoint and our number, our fake straw man, and said, you guys, you work for me. You know, I knew there was a reason a few years ago that I stopped working for the man. I knew there was a reason. And I just couldn't see. I could see where the money was going. And I'll give you an example. When I worked for the mortgage industry, I started off as a closer. And what a closer does is they get a whole bunch of legal documents, many files, fat files. And it literally might look like this to me. I didn't know what the frick these legal documents meant. And I tried to read them one day and I got lost. I'm not stupid. And I was like, I don't even know what they're talking about. And I tried to ask other people at work and they're like, basically everybody just does their job. In this industry of mortgages that we are doing, I'll just give you a flat example. So a closer goes and gathers your bank statements, your job letters, proves your income, that sort of thing. And then that person gives that information to an underwriter. The underwriter has been trained in their courses to approve the mortgage. Now that underwriter then says, yes, this mortgage is a go, and gives it to a funder. Okay, now the funders, I did that job too. So I went from a closer to a funder. Okay, I was only a closer for about 3 months. I don't even think 3 months. I think maybe 6 weeks actually. I was a closer. And when I was a funder, what happened was I was like, I really didn't understand what I was doing. But long story short, if there's 5-year mortgage, okay, I'm just going to write it down on a piece of paper, and 5% interest, and it's over 25 years, and okay, so I'll just hold this up here. So I don't know, I hope you can see it. So 5-year credit at 5 years percent, 5% interest, and amortized over 25 years. I just use these ones because it's easier. So if I were to borrow $200,000 on this mortgage, say I'm buying a house and I need a $200,000 mortgage, I go and take out this amount of money, the $200,000, and I put it into this thing. So every 5 years, I'm going to renew this amount here for 25 years in a row. Okay, I can renew my mortgage 5 times, but this will vary. But this is the rate it's in today. Okay, so my credit score is 700, which is probably not true. It's probably like 4 something. But anyway, so my credit score is 700. Now me and say 5 other people who are buying homes around, they all have 5-year mortgages at 5% and all 25% a year mortgage amortization and a credit score of 700. We're all pooled together, okay? So let me just say if I borrow $200,000, I think I'm just going to say I think it's around this when you're finally done. So $200,000 interest or borrowed, you actually end up paying over the 25 years. If it just stayed 5.5, you pay $342,000 total for that original $200,000 mortgage. That $142,000 is paid in the first 17 years of your mortgage, period. Very little is actually applied to this amount. Why? because this is called, I'll just say number one. I'm number one out of about 5 people. We all look the same. We get put in a pool of people. So this amount here is what gets sold to another person. Not a person, an entity. That entity is usually an insurance company, bonds, whatever. So when you're paying off your mortgage, you're actually paying off yourself, but giving the money to the man to use for his fractional reserve banking. Okay, so you can understand that we've all been slaves now paying into ourselves. All right. So what they do with this is they just float. That's the money that's floating around. And they used to, anyways, no offense to anybody I worked with, but I'm sorry, we didn't go to school for this. Nobody went to school to learn how to be a closer or a mortgage funder. You didn't have to go to school. So learning that system made me realize that I knew way back then the money was like, wow, what the heck, right? And no offense to all my friends who are mortgage brokers and whatnot, but you won't be needed anymore. Thank God. Thank God. Thank God we're not having debt. Thank God that we have all of this great stuff going on. Thank God. Like, really, thank Creator for putting us here in this time, in this moment, to be together, to all learn, and to be so appreciative of how we've all come together to not only stop and announce dark forces out there that we're all waking up to, but now we're awake to what's going on with our money and where it's headed. So I don't want anybody to be upset with where we were, because part of the story of Saint Germain that I'm getting to, and following up with the very beginning part of a change of greatness, or whatever I called this video on, beginning of greatness, is Saint Germain, when he was Francis Bacon and Shakespeare, he took the Athena's helmet of invisibility and the spear of truth, and he went out there to do exactly what we're doing. And it wasn't just the other day that I heard, I believe it was JFK in one of his former speeches, mention Athena. And it just sent chills all over my body. And it is my belief that Saint Germain is walking on this earth right now. I know you all know who it is. I'm hoping you've all caught on to who it is. But in Saint Germain's former lives, as Samuel, he fought the Philistines for the priests who were doing nasty things to children in orphanages. He's come back every one of his lives to take down the dark side and to bring financial greatness. So I would implore you all to do far more research into what I've told you, but I hope this has helped everybody. It's helped me. Like, I know at the end I had a few cards screwed up, but I was really late. I'll tell you that this was probably many hours of investigating, but not only that, I had it all plastered all over my wall and written totally different yesterday morning after hours and hours of writing on sheets this big instead of this big. So all of these charts were written from yesterday to today. And I'm so glad that this now is all out there in the open. So I want to leave you guys on a positive note, as I usually do, and say, I know things are being announced in this. I know things are happening. I got cut off from Facebook. So let's see about my YouTube. My YouTube's still going strong. Facebook just got jammed off. So yeah, of course you're having trouble. Okay. Cancel. Let's see if that reboots you. I don't know what's happening on my Facebook. But anyways, I'm just going to leave everybody with light and love and many blessings to everybody. And just know that change is out there. It's like right there. And I want everybody to do their best to share this video. And thank you, James Rink. Like, I cannot thank you enough, mister. And I know why your video kept putting me to sleep, because when I did my research on you, I learned that you're a meditative master. You're a meditation master. Good for you, because you did your job like quite a few times. I actually had to read the closed captioning. And that brings me to another thing. I couldn't basically I forgot what I was going to say, but anyways, I just I have such great happiness in my heart right now, and such light and love for absolutely every single one of you. I cannot thank you enough, truly, from the bottom of my heart, for sticking with me through this growth, through these charts, through everything, and sending me information, helping me be aware, putting lots of links in the comments, and just being a part of my soul family. That's what I was going to tell you. So if you don't believe in reincarnation and Saint Germain, after this, I think something's wrong with you. Like, literally, I'm like, how can this not, like, this person keeps coming back to help us. I've got goosebumps all over. He is here helping us, full force. So I am going to put a file together of my charts for everybody, get them all organized so you can share them with your friends and family. I'm going to wait a couple of hours to actually put the pictures on Facebook, because I got to make sure that my video is still recording so I can load it on BitChute. I'm trying to use absolutely every possible avenue to keep getting this stuff out there. So please share it with everybody, and let's all get educated. Let's get educated about how things happen and how we can help each other. I mean, I'm like, seriously, I'm humbled. I am humbled to my absolute core on just the amount of people that are so supportive of the journey. And again, thank you, Amelia. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to Melissa for sending this to me, and thank you for being there all the time. Just thank you to everybody. Thank you. And I'm not going to mention any names, but the tip of the sword, I thank you very much. I'm not making this political because I don't want to make anybody upset. So this is all just about returning to greatness. Us as 5D beings on our ascension. So light and love to everybody. And I'm going to try and somebody said, stop crying, it's a psyop. And I'm like, what the frig does that mean? I don't even know what you mean when you say things like that, by the way, people. I just think it's hilarious. And by the way, I do have makeup on today in case you think I've got any weird abductions. Somebody's called me a witch. I've had death threats. Like, I'm like so over it, dudes. I don't even care. Like, I don't care. But I am wearing my fancy new dress that I bought at the Goodwill shop a few weeks ago. But I'm going to go out there and get some fresh air, ride my bike. I've been working so hard to get this stuff to you. And thank you to people who offer to send me money and stuff. But I like doing this for free, to tell you the truth right now. I really do. The truth is just the best thing when you can share it with everybody. Yeah. Light and love to everybody. Blessings on your journey. Thank you so much, everybody. And I didn't swear once. Yay! Yeah, so funny.